Today we have Mrs. Shalini Tyagaraja.
Thank you, Shruti, for having me here. I'm super excited to share my journey.
20 plus years of experience in technology. As a leader, you're a director at Microsoft. You also practice yoga, pranayama, meditation. You're a coach.
I saw a lot of other women where the opportunity to be financially independent didn't quite exist. I didn't live for a while.
Okay.
Here. Part of parenting, you learn different things, life teaches you.
Yeah.
I'm always into some sort of physical fitness.
Yeah.
Something clicked where I could find a tool to help manage emotions. And last year I started a wellness podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Shruti Bhaskar from Whatcast Your Journey. Welcome. General conversation about physical health, mental health, general well-being, yoga, pranayama, meditation. I can keep going on. And I'm simply honored to have her here because of so much experience and knowledge that she has and she's willing to share with us today. So yeah, welcome Shalini. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you, Shruti, for having me here. I'm super excited to share my journey.
Your profile, it was very eye-catching because you have 20 plus years of experience in technology. As a leader, you're a director at Microsoft. You also practice yoga, pranayama, meditation. You're a coach in all that, and you teach all kids, adults, all ages. So it was, I personally got inspired just by looking at it, and I wanted to capture your journey. How was it like? For me, moving from India to here, and generally speaking, there's a lot of challenges moving away from home and adulting, moving into adulting and all that. And you've obviously crossed many stages after what's called the current phase. Podcast is just generally going to be benefiting a lot of audience who can relate to anything that we will be talking about.
So I landed in the United States when I was 19. Mm-hmm. So I came here, I didn't really have any family, I just came in here. I had a very simple goal in mind, which was to be financially independent, to pursue my passion and my purpose, because I saw a lot of women growing up back in India, and of course my own mom, right? I mean, she didn't get an opportunity to work, although she was well educated, but again, family, priorities, all of that took over, right? So I saw a lot of other women where the opportunity to be financially independent didn't quite exist. So I think for me, that was one of the motives, I would say, when I came here. And of course, I come from a very conservative family back in India. And so it was not very common to send a daughter away at the age of 19 to a foreign country so far away and not really having any family nearby. So when I came, I would say it was really tough. It was about figuring out my own identity, figuring out everything from food to, and vegetarian food was very hard those days. So everything from food to culture to people, all of it. And I landed in Michigan. It's also one of the coldest places.
Oh, yeah. Me too, actually. 2015, I came for Masters in Michigan.
But, again, the snow was also something that was very new because I lived in Dubai for a while before I came here.
I see.
So, the weather patterns as well to adapt. And so, so there was a lot, I think, going on when I came here at that young age. But, fast forward, now I dropped off my daughter recently in college, and she was, she is 19, and and I was just thinking, wow, all of those insecurities. I used to think so, and my dad used to, make a big deal, sending me off and asking me all these questions and saying, how are you going to manage? You're still going to have an arranged marriage. I mean, he had this whole, agreement, if you will, jokingly, but I think I can imagine the concern because now I feel like life has come full circle. So as a mom, when I dropped off my daughter in college, I was just thinking about all of that because it's the same questions I was asking. And I was telling her, I was giving her some advice, of course, not all of that, but a part of it. And I was asking her the same things because I feel like, it's just part of parenting. You learn different things, life teaches you, and you evolve, right? So it's like, wow, I was there, but I was a different person, obviously as a teenager, not really listening to a lot of it. But now I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm on the other side giving the same advice, which I'm sure my daughter doesn't want to hear. But it's just, life has come full circle for me. So in the United States, it's over 25 years now that I've been here. So this is home.
Wow, 25 years.
Yes. And Seattle, I've been here again for 22 years.
Okay.
So this is actually home. Got married and moved here because my husband was already in Seattle. And like I said, I have two girls. So my older one is in college and the younger one is a rising senior in high school. So pretty close, but she's getting there. So yeah, so that's a little bit about, I would say, the personal journey. And from work, I think you already mentioned, I've always been in the tech world and in Microsoft for a little over 15 years now. And I've worked for like a couple of other companies as well. But yeah, pretty much in the tech space. Yes.
I'll let you talk about what practices do you follow for wellness and why did you start your wellness journey and what inspired you to get this journey started and what motivated you to deliver the knowledge and experience to people.
Sure. Yeah, I think, I started yoga classes maybe about 10, 12 years ago. One of my friends, and of course my kids are much younger, and I felt like I was just in this crazy running around phase of life with young kids, and I was really trying to find a tool that will help me just calm, center emotions, and whatever I could manage. But I was always into some sort of physical fitness. I also feel because in Seattle, 6 months of the year, we are pretty much indoors, I would say, or maybe a little more than 6 months. So you have to find something that keeps you, just physically, mentally active. So I've always been trying out different things, Pilates, yoga, gym. So I've tried all of it. So about, I would say 10, 12 years ago, I had a friend who said, hey, do you want to come and try out a yoga class? And I remember going to the yoga class, looks very overwhelming. But I think what really helped was, so my friend helped me continue the motivation. So I just started, continuing to go. And I would say maybe 6 months-ish into all of it, something clicked because I also attended a workshop on pranayama, breath work, also something on meditation. And I think that's when, I felt like something clicked where I could find a tool to help manage emotions and do better. And of course, that is a journey, right, over time, because as we know, it's not a switch, a turn off on switch. So it takes a long time. But I would say that was my trigger or starting point, because I felt like I was vulnerable only because of young kids trying to, I'm sure most moms can relate to this, but being an Uber mom and trying to manage.
What is an Uber mom?
Uber mom, they call it a soccer mom, essentially just driving them around to all the classes.
Okay.
That's what we do. So pretty much, I would say a soccer mom or, basically an Uber driver. Like most people think of themselves, because we're constantly driving them to all kinds of classes. And
it's a merged word. Okay.
And I mean, having a full-time job, right? I mean, you come home, you're just literally picking them up from daycare or whatever. Then you come home, give them a shower, you feed them, you have to think about dinner, right? And then you have all these classes. So it was definitely, I would say, very mechanical life at that point, right? When the kids were younger. And that needed a lot of just management of emotions. At least that's how I felt. So I would say, looking forward to something. And that's when, this yoga, I would say, came into my world. And like I said, it took over 6 months. But again, something clicked with the breath work and with the meditation. And even meditation, right? Again, as most people would tell you, that you cannot just sit and go into meditation. It takes a lot of practice because, again, we all have this monkey mind. And so it's very hard to disconnect. And that practice took a lot, I would say, longer. But I would say, again, coming back, that was the trigger. That was the point where, I was just overwhelmed managing 2 young kids, work, everything, and there's no real support system here, as we all know it. So you're kind of doing it all yourself. And I also say that thing which I learned over all the years, to ask for help. I wasn't really good at it at that time. And I also feel that there's a lot of conservative, cultures, and where we're not really, I would say, trained, or we don't tune into, hey, raise my hand or ask for help, right? But then I started seeing a lot of that at work, because, I had a lot of mentors, see people from, diverse communities, and I would see how they would approach things. And if they didn't know something, they would just say, I don't know, or they would say, okay, I need help to get this done. But that never came naturally to me. And so that was another thing. I feel like now I can say that in hindsight, I'm sure that led to the overwhelm as well. So again, that was also part of the trigger of I needed a tool. So I got certified as a yoga alliance teacher about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And again, the trigger for that as well as I was doing these yoga classes for a couple of years, I honestly, teaching was not in my mind.
Okay.
I just wanted to get certified so I could learn more about everything I was doing in the classes.
Okay.
And so when I did my yoga teacher training, at the end of training, we're supposed to teach a few free community classes. So at that time when I taught a few community classes, I had a bunch of people reach out and ask me, hey, if you're going to start a class or a session, I would love to join. So I guess that's when I know the light bulbs kind of went on. I said, okay, wow, I never thought about teaching, but maybe I should just try this. So honestly, all I did was rent a space in one of our chiropractor's studio. It was a pretty small room, but I said, okay, let me just start small and see where this goes. And I just had a couple of friends bring their friends, so there's about, I would say 5, I think, is how I started this. And so that's how the whole yoga training or teaching, if you will, started. And then I continued. And there was a point in the next couple of years where there was almost about 60 students, different age groups. So I had teenagers. It was a way to bring my girls to class. And then I had seniors, and then I had also different age groups and also teenagers, right, like I said, and some younger kids. So it was a different, I would say, wide variety and diverse age groups. And it was great just from a learning angle as well for me, just to teach to, different age groups and how you adapt poses and all of it. So anyway, so I did that. So that I would say in a span of about 4 to 5 years, that's how it grew. And then COVID happened. And so obviously I took a little break from the teaching part, but my practice never stopped. So that always continued. And also something different. Last year I started a wellness podcast. It's called Let's Talk Wellness with Shal. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And trust me, when I started the podcast, I had no idea how to even set up one or where I should even start. So it was literally just self-research. It was a half-a-day thing. I was looking up YouTube, was trying to learn how to do this. And I said, all right, I'm just going to get an external microphone and just go with it. That's how it started, because I felt like I wanted an avenue to share my learnings and everything that I had done. And then also got certified as a health coach as part of Institute of Integrative Nutrition, so part of Deepak Chopra's organization, is part of the board there as well. So I did that. Then I did a pranayama or breathwork certification or training as well. So I felt like I wanted to share all of that knowledge, and that's really the intent of starting a podcast. But then I would say a few months in, I spoke to a few other people and I decided, why not bring their journey, have them share on all of their wellness topics, right, as well. So that.
Thank you for explaining all that. And it's wonderful how you have so much of knowledge and experience to share in the wellness space.
The easiest way to get into meditation for a beginner is through pranayama.
I started practicing pranayama since I got my septoplasty surgery done. My doctor actually asked me to do pranayama.
Even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that 8 parts of the definition of yoga. How do you not get so sucked into external validation and judgment? Yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Going completely inwards takes a lot of practice.
You suggest one specific type of meditation for beginners? Should we change the course? Does it depend on how long we do it? I have so many questions about meditation. But I'll get started with just what is meditation.
No, I think this is a very important question, because I feel like I get asked this a lot, because I feel just the definition of yoga, like originally defined thousands of years ago, there are 8 parts of the definition of yoga, which I don't think most people know. The first 2, without going into all the details, but the first 2 limbs of yoga are the yamas and niyamas in Sanskrit, which are essentially ethical and moral guidelines we should follow, just as values, for ourselves and the people around us, and how we develop that. So it's really, people call it yoga off the mat. So those are the 2 parts. Third one is the asanas, or the physical poses that we all see in studios. So that's only one aspect. The 4th one is pranayama, which is breath work. 5th one is called pratyahara, which means withdrawal from sensory stimulation. So again, how do you not get so sucked into external validation and judgments and all of it? So that's the fifth one. The sixth one is called dharana, which means one pointed focus or a concentration. This could be, people call it gaze meditation, candle meditation, mantra chanting. There's so many different ways. I'll tell you why, because that is the sixth one. The seventh one is meditation or dhyana. So what it means is there are 6 steps, at least based on the traditional definition, of how you even get to that meditative state. So it's not just how people think you can just close your eyes and you can go straight to meditation. So unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. And then the 8th limb is samadhi, which is enlightenment. That's, of course, the ultimate state, which is, again, your mind, body, spirit, everything is just merged with consciousness, right? So that is the final state. So based on that definition, right, so that tells you meditation is something which evolves over time. And the easiest way to get into meditation for a beginner is through pranayama. Because when you bring your focus to your breath, you're kind of slowly getting away from the thoughts in your mind. Because you're focusing on the inhale, the exhale. Right. And that's why in pranayama we add mental counts and all of it, because then you will observe that your mind is not thinking about your to-do list. If you're truly focusing on the inhale and the exhale and the count and the pranayama, you're really not thinking about other things. So that's why they say pranayama is one step towards meditation.
Got it. How does it help when you're not thinking about things that are supposed to be sorted?
I mean, even in Bhagavad Gita, I mean, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that you still have to do your dharma. You have to do your duty. Just don't hinge on the results and the, output of your actions, right? But what you need to do, that is 100% your responsibility. You still have to take action.
It's just for overthinking.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
just curbing overthinking.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Not spiraling, thinking about a situation that's drowning you.
So it's one of those moments, right, where you get into this unnecessary, like, what happens tomorrow, what happened yesterday, and what's going to happen in the future. The only things you control, right? There are all these other things, and this is where it's the mind, right? Even with yoga, it says yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. That means, again, mental fluctuations.
Is it the one of the 7?
No. It's just one of the sayings by Patanjali.
Oh, okay,
it's just yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. So chitta, again, thoughts, all the fluctuations that are happening. Vritti, right? How do you control your mental afflictions? Nirodha is, again, refraining from these fluctuations. So chitta is essentially the mind, and how yoga helps you get away from the fluctuations of your mind. So that is really the definition as well, right? And as we all know, if it was as simple to get away from monkey mind, everybody would have done it by now. But it's not, right? Because it is a lifelong process. Even now, I mean, even people who've meditated for a long time, they still get into the human cycles of thoughts, emotions, all of it, right? So nobody is immune, again, maybe unless you get to that samadhi and the ultimate state, right? So it's very difficult what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring balance in our practical life, just so we can find some way of going inwards, right? But going completely inwards takes a lot of practice. So that's...
Listeners, welcome to Vodcast Your Journey spiritual podcast. That's true. I started practicing pranayama since I got my septoplasty surgery done. My doctor actually asked me to do pranayama to make the nose muscles stronger. But then I started exploring pranayama and went into a rabbit hole of exploring everything and anything about yoga and what the stuff that you said, and got into mantra practices. All of that. You can see the Rudraksha. Got really deep into it.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So, but yeah, I do pranayama. I was doing it consistently, and then discipline problems. I stopped.
Most people go through that, but yes.
So anyway, right now I'm actually consistently doing it. So correct me if I'm wrong. I just saw it in a YouTube video, but we do the Vishnu Mudra, right? This is the Vishnu Mudra, and you do the pranayama by inhaling. I started off with 6 seconds inhale, and then exhale 6 seconds on the right nostril, like that. And then again, inhale 6 seconds right, and exhale 6 seconds on the left. So you keep alternating by exhaling on the left, and then inhaling again on the left, and exhaling on the right, and inhaling on the right.
Correct.
and then just alternating that.
Yes.
So I think for beginners, this worked out pretty well for me, starting with 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. You can, you'll get certain confidence once you keep moving. But like you said, I think it's very important to have a strong core. Yes. Right? Because when you're sitting straight and doing the pranayama, my back started hurting when I started this. And definitely, working out.
Yes, any form of physical fitness. But again, because we're talking about yoga, so the poses or the yoga poses is what helps build that flexibility and your core, and you're able to sit for longer periods of time.
Got it. So let's dive into the 8 limbs of yoga.
So the first limb, right, is the yamas. So for yamas, again, there is 5 breakdowns within yamas. So the first one is ahimsa, which is non-violence. So again, it's non-violence in thoughts, words, actions. So it's not just non-violence from a physical form, but it's also how you think and what you do with everybody around you. So ahimsa is one of those. And then there is asteya, which is non-stealing. So essentially, making sure you're not grabbing something that does not belong to you, right? And, you're not thinking about what somebody else has, but trying to find your own space, if you will. So that's another big part of it. And then there's aparigraha, which is non-hoarding, because in general, right, materialistic world, we all just start to stack up on things, whether that's at home or in the office. That's how you get to clutter, because it's also, symbolic, right? It shows when your mind is decluttered, how do you feel versus just cluttering yourself. So that's again one of those things where you do less hoarding of things or materialistic things. And then there's brahmacharya, which in the ancient definition is all about practicing celibacy. But brahmacharya is also about abstaining from unhealthy habits, like for example with diet or nutrition, right? Like how do you kind of draw those boundaries or draw those lines, right? So that's another big part of it. And then the second one is the niyamas, right? So these are ethical guidelines or values for you as a person to develop. So the first one is saucha, which is cleanliness. So again, cleanliness in so many different ways, right? Again, thoughts, words, actions, all of it. And then there's santosha, which is contentment, gratitude. Again, when is enough, right? How do you draw the line? So I think that's another important aspect, right? And then there is swadhyaya, which is, just self-study or immersing yourself in spiritual knowledge or just learning. That's another big part of it. And then there's Ishvara.
I've been doing that without knowing this term though.
There you go. That's awesome. And then there's Ishvara Pranidhana, which means surrendering to the power of the divine above us, who's essentially guiding us through everything that,
How is it different from the last enlightenment stage? This one?
Well, these are just values that you develop as a person, right? So again, this is in your own spiritual practice, right? How do you define with a spiritual power or a source, or, if you don't think or believe in God, then it's still finding that purpose and a spiritual connection, a source above you. So that's what that is. And then the third one was the asanas, or the physical poses. Exactly. So the poses that you see on social media, you see in yoga studios, you do in yoga studios. So those are the physical poses. Then the fourth one is pranayama, or breath work that we just talked about. So prana essentially means life force or our breath, and yama means the extension of our breath. Because typically, most of us, we only shallow breathe, so we're only breathing here, so we're not really breathing as a deeper practice. And I know research says, I think on an average, we take about 30,000 breaths a day.
Wow, that's a lot, right?
It's a lot. So, but I'm sure most of us don't even realize that, because again, we just take it for granted. It's just one of those things that happen, right? But when you pause to take deeper, longer breaths, that's what helps with longevity, is obviously what research is now telling us, right? And also with more pranayama, you're activating a parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relax mode. Because of course today, most of us are always in this hustle culture, go, what's the next thing? What do you need to achieve? So we're in this constant fast mode. So just even slowing down for your nervous system to even help you heal with anything is almost absent. So you have to force yourself to actually practice breathing techniques just for that reason. So I think, so that is the pranayama part.
Yoga, like when you do certain postures, it will make you, like you would breathe when you're taking a posture.
Yes.
In yoga.
Correct.
And how does it help in real life?
So, I'll just say, for example, child's pose, taking something, right? So child's pose is one of the yoga poses, right? So when you're in child's pose and you're kind of stretching out your whole body and you're breathing in child's pose, at least, even research says, not just me, but I feel it is a sense of, safeness, a sense of, trust and just being guarded. And I feel like, I'm able to just be in the safe space when I'm breathing in a child's pose, right? But Shavasana is just another example. Yes, it's a great pose when you do a, crazy yoga session and you just want to relax and you're so ready to just fall asleep. But there are trauma, individuals who are going through certain kind of trauma in life. For them, Shavasana is one of those poses where you suddenly...
Which is lying flat on the floor.
Yes, sorry. Shavasana is essentially when you're lying flat. It's a corpse pose or the funny pose. So for people, example, experiencing trauma, Shavasana is something that they would not want to do because they suddenly feel like the trust and the safety barrier is just suddenly opened up. So it's a very interesting, there's a lot.
They avoid certain postures, different kind of victims.
Yes,
to avoid do only certain kind of postures.
Exactly. So the example that you're asking, so yes, child's pose is where I feel, and then to your point, how does this all relate back to reality or our day-to-day life, if you will? I feel like, again, it is some of these emotions that you develop over time and the flexibility that you also grow into just from, a physical body perspective.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting in yoga when you do a lot of the balance poses like tree pose or any of the balance poses for that matter. People don't realize there's also a mental focus aspect in a lot of these yoga poses, right? It's not just saying, I'm going to go come in.
Is it connected to your chakras? Like when you do the tree pose, you stand with one leg.
Yes.
Is it with one leg and both hands on the top?
Yes, exactly. So you're basically folding one leg to, the lower part of the knee and upper part of the knee. Yes.
I think chakras are anyway connected with yoga in all ways.
I mean, they are like, again, energy centers, right? So yes, so they're all connected. But that's what I'm trying to say is most people think of yoga is just the physical part, but then there's the mental and the focus part that also plays.
Yeah.
And that's what translates, I feel at least, to the real world as well. Because at work, I feel like, I'm a lot more efficient because I just feel like I can focus, get the task done, and it's over, right? So there's no this monkey mind jumbling and you're trying to multitask, you're doing multiple things. So for me, at least, that's how it's helped off my head. Stress to some extent, we all need it.
At least for Seattle people, if they're not able to get out.
The layers of mental health, right? If somebody is going through depression, anxiety,
all the mindless scrolling and social media kind of instills that thought in you that something's wrong with you. So I guess it's more about the awareness. A lot of people don't even know what's not normal.
It's all connected, right? So if something is not working somewhere, you see it manifest in different ways.
Watching me and my anxiety.
When I say wellness coach, there's a lot more. So I would give us more idea on what exactly you do in wellness and what kind of teaching you do and practices you do.
Sure. So I'm a certified Yoga Alliance teacher, and I've also done my certification in pranayama, and I'm an Institute of Integrative Nutrition health coach. And I've been teaching in yoga studios for over 6-7 years now, and I've also been having my own private practice where I teach one-on-one as well for clients for many years.
That's wonderful. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And changing people's life.
I think about holistic wellness on what I call wellness quadrant. I think of 4 different categories when I think about wellness. So the first one is work, because I feel work is what kind of gives you purpose. It gives you obviously financial security for sure. There's confidence, right? And you start to find purpose, passion. So I think work is a very important part of my 4th quadrant, I would say, of wellness. Second is relationships, home, work, kids, everything around you, the community. If you're doing active service in the community, relationships matters, relationships. Third one is wellness, where I think about physical and emotional and the diet, the nutrition, because again, it's all holistic, right? So the wellness. Last but not the least is self-care. Because I've realized over the years that so many women I speak to, actually even men I speak to, you don't really prioritize self-care. Everybody just thinks, we're all in this hustle culture, especially if you're in the corporate and if you're in the tech world, it's always about what's next. So we're just always in this go mindset. So even at the beginning of the year, when you set New Year goals and people talk about goal setting, I always like to set some goals in all of those 4 quadrants because I feel they're all equally important.
What does self-care really mean to you?
So to me, self-care just means starting my day, right? It's like literally brushing your teeth. So I always have like a morning routine, even if it's 15 minutes. And I mean, there could be days it's crazy. And of course, when the kids were much younger, that was hard. I'm not going to deny that, right? But I feel finding that morning time where it's just peaceful, when you wake up, there's no phone, there's no distractions, your mind is not raced to the next to-do list, is where I find time with breath work or even if it's just meditation. And for some people, it's just a chant or it's just sitting in some quiet music, right? Whatever that is. But I've always found that ritual as something that centers me before I start the day. If we're all chasing to do all of these lovely things and getting a fat paycheck and a great title and do all of it, but if you're not feeding yourself, I call it soul food, right? Soul food means multiple things. Again, yoga, meditation, and eating as well, right? So if we don't control that, then I don't feel anything else is really going to help you. Because again, as you all know it, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? So we have a long journey to go. So if we don't feed ourselves and do all of it, I feel we pay a price at some point, right? So for me, that's equally important. So yes, starting a morning routine, making sure, there's a nutritious breakfast, what not to kick off your day, trying to find protein through the day in your diet. And then, for me in the evening, it's always a class, a physical fitness class, whether that's yoga, I said I tried Pilates for a while, whatever that is, with some kind of physical movement, or even a nature walk, if nothing else, right? But for me, in the evenings, that 1 hour of some physical activity has always been a must. Stress, to some extent, we all need it because we all need this, rush to keep our life going. I mean, we all have deadlines at work, at home, and all of it, right? So that's some level of stress is needed to help us, be motivated to achieve a goal. But when it gets to chronic stress, I've seen people unable to sleep. So it leads to insomnia, right? Or they're having disturbed sleep, or they're only able to sleep 1 or 2 hours, right? And they're consistently getting up because they're anxious about something. Yes. I mean, there are some people who just like weeks and then they feel like, oh, then I felt a little better, so I didn't go and ask for help. They just kind of let it slide, and then suddenly after a couple of months, pops up again, right? And then that's when you start to realize, oh wow, maybe there's a deeper problem, right? So you need help. And that's the other thing. That's why I want to say that some people just brush it off saying, I don't think I need help, I'm fine. But when they start to see some of these patterns, right? Or even it can be even with food, right? With nutrition. I mean, some people I've seen, they just say that, oh my gosh, after like 5 p.m. or something in the evening, I'm exhausted. Like I don't want to do anything, right? They don't even want to just even take a walk for 30 minutes, right? I don't know if you consistently feel like that, then I feel like there's probably some underlying medical test that you probably have to do because that's not normal when you're in your 30s and 40s. If you're so exhausted by like 5 or 6 p.m. in the night without having energy because something else could be, talking there, right? So that's how I would say you start to see things which are not very normal, right? That's where I feel it's
I guess it's more about the awareness. A lot of people don't even know what's not normal. So if you're not sleeping properly and for a couple of weeks, you experience insomnia and then it pops up again. And it could also happen for people with a couple of days of alternating days too, right? Like we don't know the level, but nice to have a support system there, I think, to call you out.
So everything is so interrelated. This is why human bodies just so complex and food, diet, sleep, it's all connected, right? So if something is not working somewhere, you'll see it manifest in different ways, right? Or even, I would say another thing is about emotions. So I see some people who are just constantly either anxious or worried about something, or I've seen some people who just get worked up or just get angry for no reason, right? So also again, it comes back to balancing emotions. So something is triggering you, there's something else that's manifesting out of this. I think it's important, again, for people to observe what they're seeing and if there's a change in patterns. And I know one of the techniques a lot of people use is journaling. Because, when you kind of journal, when you talk about or write about how you feel, and then over days or weeks or something, and you start seeing the same pattern, then you realize that you probably need help.
Sometimes also have, de-stressing teas like ashwagandha. That kind of helps too. If you want to fall asleep to this chamomile tea is so
Exactly.
good.
Yes.
You'll fall asleep like this.
Yes.
It's like magic.
Correct.
Do you think therapy is necessary for anybody who has undergone only trauma, or is it anybody who could face anything in their life?
Got it. I think there's two different things, right? I feel like there's counseling, where a lot of people go for counseling, which is when you're not really sure whether you need therapy or you don't know the intensity of what you're experiencing. Therapy, right? I know even teenagers who go through, therapy just because they feel mental stress, they feel mental pressure, right? Comparison, judgment. I mean, there's a lot going on with kids nowadays as well, right? And so I feel like, at least that's the way I've understood it, is counseling is kind of that first step, just to even identify if you need it. And then therapy is next step where, you've identified what you need help for. And then there are therapy sessions, and of course, so many therapists who specialize in very specific things as well.
That's true. There's this mindset growing as well that that's like, oh, something's wrong with me, I need to go to therapy. But sometimes it's not be that deep.
That's
you
true.
might be
I
overthinking.
totally agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so much social media and so much information up there. I feel like the way people perceive it, the way people take it is so different.
Yeah. All the mindless scrolling in Instagram and social media kind of instills that thought in you that something's wrong with you. But sometimes it's not. Like, you can actually feel better just hitting the gym or listening to music or having tea, going for a walk. There's so many quick, actual human things to do. Like, get out of your phone, throw your phone away, and just get the hell out and feel some fresh air. You might feel different in a couple of minutes. Like 20 minutes walk would help. 20 minutes call to a friend would help. Almost sounds like it's the holy grail to live your life, the 8 stages that we talked about.
Yes. Do I really need that to be in a yoga class, to go through, a spiritual development? The 8 limbs of yoga, ultimately samadhi is going inwards. Overstimulation, right? And, time control with how much you're scrolling. Now we just jump straight to we do the yoga poses and that's all it is. At least in the Western world, yoga is only associated to the physical aspect of it.
God is like a frequency, like where even God doesn't exist. All you see is life.
Yeah, there are millions of people who come and go in this lifetime without even knowing any of this.
How will you convince a person who argues that?
That's why they say even just playing a sport is a form of meditation.
I'm finally able to relate what my grandmother was doing. She was in the Om Shanti movement. So she meditates using the light.
Both as a pranayama. And then the 5th one is pratyahara, which is, again, withdrawal from the sensory stimulations. I feel that's so important today because we are so sensory, I would say, bombarded on social media, on, everybody's judgment or everybody's opinion about everything. And people just, I feel, start to doubt themselves about everything that they're doing, right? If they're even doing it right, if this is wrong, because somebody else showed me something else on social media. So I feel like that stimulation is just crazy. I keep reminding my girls, but you need to have some, time control with how much you're scrolling. And I feel like people just get into the mindless scrolling pattern, sadly. And unless you force yourself to put a timer, people just get stuck in a loop. So anyway,
pratyahara is being aware of your.
It's being aware and withdrawing from your senses, because again, overstimulation, right? And overstimulation again means you're not calming yourself from a situation or to even go inwards. Because if you think about it again, with the 8 limbs of yoga, ultimately samadhi is going inwards. So each of these pillars are almost like guidelines to help you get there. So if you don't withdraw yourself from overstimulation and all the sensory stuff around you, then that inward journey is not going to happen. So that was really the definition of it.
Got it.
And then the 6th one is dharana, which is one-pointed focus or concentration, because people, again, it is a chant or it's listening to, music, or some people even like to do just candle gazing meditation, right? But it's just helping you develop small bursts of focus is how I think about it. And I feel the same, which is pranayama, right? We talked about it as for a beginner getting into meditation. Pranayama is also a great way to step into it because, again, it is also a focus of some sort because you're focusing on your breath, the count, and all of it. So you're still focused.
Okay,
right?
my mom is going to be so proud for saying this. Like, I mean, I'm finally able to relate what my grandmother was doing. She meditates. She was in the Om Shanti movement. So she meditates using the light.
Eighth one is samadhi.
Enlightenment.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
So it's the seventh one, the Dhyana.
Yes, dhyana, which is meditation. So this is how it was traditionally defined, right? So if you think about it, there's a method to it. So it's not like, I know now we just jump straight to like, oh, we do the yoga poses and that's all it is. At least in the Western world, yoga is only associated to the physical aspect of it. Yes, it's important, but it's only one part of it. So I think a lot of people I feel like have this holistic view of the actual traditional definition of yoga by Patanjali, who's the father of yoga, but that is how he defined it. Yes,
even though it's like one stage, yoga is one stage, it's more like yoga is also the term is used widely as a union.
Exactly. Yes.
Thoughts.
Yes. Union of the mind, body, and the spirit. Yes.
Got it. What I got from watching a lot of podcasts about this is, God is like a frequency. Basically. That devotion that you show.
Correct.
And every day of your life, you're getting closer to God, like that frequency. And I heard enlightenment is like there's no noise or sound, like there's only a light at the end above God, where even God doesn't exist. All you see is light.
Yeah, basically saying you are that divine energy, right? So when you go inwards and you're able to connect to that energy and that consciousness, it's the same. Right? And again, it's obviously a very deep topic in itself. And who knows, getting anywhere close to that, right? In this lifetime or how many lifetimes?
I'm curious.
I'm just saying because I don't think I've explored so much to talk about samadhi because it is a very, very deep spiritual topic in itself. But what I'm saying is, yes, whether we even get to that in this lifetime or how many lifetimes, I don't know. But I feel like even the opportunity to experience or even be aware of all of these things in this lifetime, I feel is a gift in itself because there are millions of people who come and go in this lifetime without even knowing any of this.
Almost sounds like it's the holy grail to live your life, the 8 stages that we talked about.
Yes.
So is there any suggestion for...
So I would say, again, like the first 2 that we talked about, right? They are just ethical guidelines, right? And I know a lot of people have already read this, they're aware of it, but I think it's also about practicing it, right? How do you practice or are you practicing it? So for example, in the first one, we talked about in yamas, we talked about ahimsa, right? Which is non-violence. Again, we know when people say be courteous, be kind in your thoughts, in your actions, right? Don't think evil or don't, feel bad or talk bad about others. So we know all of it, but I feel like practicing those is what the important part is. Yoga off the mat. That is just developing values of you as a person, right?
Every choice you make, every moment. So your advice is just
start in asana.
Start with asana.
Yes.
But knowing the significance probably helps you continue it, right? Like
that's why I'm saying it's also the consistency and the discipline. It's not just
like you should know why you're doing it.
Right, that too. But that's not going to all see. There's so much, right? It's all not going to happen in your first class.
So, say for example, I am doing some stretching that is looking very similar to yoga. How does it help me spiritually? Like knowing that yoga has a meaning, and when I do this posture, when I inhale, exhale, it makes sense. It probably gets incorporated into my life, how I'm moving, how I'm standing, how I'm sitting, and stuff like that. Probably, but how would you say, how will you convince a person who argues that? The thing.
Interesting. So you're saying even if you went to a fitness studio and you did, I don't know, just lifting weights or doing some kind of stretching
that is similar to yoga.
I don't think it really matters. When I say that, I'm saying just because you do the yoga physical poses like child's pose or any of those poses. Only if you do that, you can actually go through the meditation or the spiritual path. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. You can still be doing any kind of physical movement. That's why they say even just playing a sport is a form of meditation, because you're so focused, you're like absorbed and engrossed in it, right? Like when you're swimming or I don't know, soccer or whatever for that matter, you're mindfully present, right? So I don't think anybody is saying just because you do the yoga poses, that's your only way to get through the spiritual path and the 8 limbs, right? Because the first 2, like I said, those are just values of you as a person that anyone can be. You have, I mean, you don't need anything, from a yoga perspective. It's almost like a way of life is how you can think about these 8 limbs, right? And yoga is just, yes, the physical aspect and the physical poses, only because those poses have been time tested for years, where they develop so many different forms of, I would say, mobility and
Endurance.
flexibility and endurance. And because, like I said, for example, I talked about Vrikshasana or tree pose. It's not just a physical pose, because even to do tree pose, and if you ask a beginner to do it, unless their core is so good and they can just get on the tree pose, most people struggle with it. It takes a while to build it, right? But when you do tree pose, there is so much of even mental focus, right? It's not just physically just pulling one leg up. It's not as simple as that. But there's also the mental aspect of it. So can you get that mental aspect when you do, maybe a sport?
Pilates.
Exactly. Or maybe you do Pilates or some other activity. Absolutely. Why not? Right? It's still your own physical body. It's still developing same stamina, the same resilience. The mental.
There's something with when you do hatha flow, like certain
It's that flow of energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could that be of significance? Like,
I think so. But again, right, so people can argue that too, to say that, do I really need that to be in a yoga class to go through, a spiritual development? Absolutely not. You can still be a very spiritual person without doing yoga, right? And people ask me this question all the time, is yoga related to religion? I mean, do I have to be a certain religion to even do yoga, right? Because they feel like even chanting Om, is that just because it's a religious thing?
Om is like very spiritual, right? Like it's more like the sound therapy. It's like
Correct.
a vibration created.
The vibration and the energy connecting, right? But I'm just saying, for a lot of Westerners, that's a very common question that I get asked is, so is yoga just a religious thing? Is it only because, you have to be a Hindu to do yoga? So, I mean, people are curious about that, right? Because, again, we start to bring some of these things. That's why they're also intermingled, I feel. And so to your point, I feel the same. It could be any other form of, physical fitness. It doesn't have to just be yoga. But what helps you is when you do yoga in a class, they bring in parts of breath work. They weave in meditation. So you're kind of going through that path of that development, right? But if you did just swimming, well, you're not exactly doing breath work per se. You're mindfully present, absolutely. It is a form of meditation, yes, right? But you're not putting yourself in a pranayama practice or a breath work practice, right? I don't know if you're actually slowing down your breath or feeling your breath even if you do Pilates or you're doing studio, because you're just pulling weights, you're doing, just action-oriented activities. So are you actually feeling your breath and movement? Maybe not. So I think that's the only aspect, but I don't think there's anything to say that you have to just do yoga to go into the spiritual path. I don't agree.
You would just advise the beginners to follow those values and, operate with integrity.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, first the values, but also I feel being aware of this in itself, I think is a big thing in terms of your spiritual practice. So I think that is at least a step in the direction.
Wonderful. It's been 2 hours, guys. What's one book everyone should read?
Breathe.
A place you'd love to visit for a wellness retreat?
I feel like I'm sitting on a Karan Johar's
Definitely not. tools for editing that you would like to suggest to listeners?
The only tool that I've
Not for us free subscribers.
So that's how the podcast journey as well started.
10K followers on Instagram, they might get paid.
Decided I'll just get the prescription. I mean,
Subscription.
oh my God, it'll just be another rejection call. And the funny part, I was 7 months pregnant.
I thought that was the last question. But they even second doubt themselves. We do that constantly, women.
Yes. So I would say the first tip would be.
You said you started your social media content journey a year back?
Less than a year back, actually.
How did you make sure you're that engagement there and also creating high quality content?
For me, the big triggers of even getting out on social media was, a lot of my friends and, clients and people that I work with, they said, you've learned, so many things, and why not, spread your knowledge or share or bring awareness. And, and so I said, okay, maybe I'll try just getting out on social media and tweet. So that's how the podcast journey as well started on social media.
Yeah, I strongly believe you'll learn so much from people, their personal experiences. Do you have tools for editing that you would like to suggest to listeners?
The only tool that I've been using right now is Riverside. That's what I use.
Riverside?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I use.
A paid one?
Yes, it is a paid one. Yeah.
That's not for us free subscribers.
Without a lot of probably a big learning curve, because I just wanted to get started and do something and see how it is. And so I decided I'll just get the prescription. I mean,
subscription. That goes into bloopers.
I just decided to get, a subscription. So it would be easier to just experiment and see, how that works. But yes.
Got it. And do you view your insights, how there's view your insights dashboard, and do you observe any patterns like women, men, which regions watch more?
Yes, I actually noticed very interestingly on some of the podcast topics, because one was on meditation, and I think there was some other topic around neurodivergent kids, and so it was very, intriguing, I guess. And I think also there was another one on yoga as well. Yes, if I remember. So that was also one of those topics where I felt a lot more listeners and people were more curious. And maybe, again, it's a buzzword now, and maybe everybody wants to know more. And how do I think about my holistic self, or how do I find calm? Maybe.
So you need a couple of thousands to on Instagram.
Yes, I think so. To even get to that paid model, and same thing on YouTube. I mean, even from a subscriber.
So even if it's a 10K subscriber, 10K followers on Instagram, they might get paid?
I think so. I think there's some, I'm not sure what that threshold is, but yes.
Maybe I'll research more on that.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the rapid fire questions.
Okay. Oh, I feel like I'm sitting on a Karan Johar's show.
Definitely not.
Yeah, let's go.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
What's one book everyone should read?
Breathe.
The most important self-care habit?
Morning routine.
Favorite podcast or podcast to listen to besides your own?
Oh, I love Jay Shetty. So I listen to this podcast.
Got it. City or nature?
Nature.
A place you'd love to visit for a wellness retreat?
New Zealand.
The one word that describes your purpose?
Passion.
All right. We wanted to talk about your professional graph. What led you to where you are now?
I don't think I knew what I wanted to do when I came to study, when I did my undergrad or master's. But again, it was already a path kind of carved, which is you're going to the United States, you're going to, have to figure out your visa and all these challenges that we have as an immigrant. So tech is
Did you come to do masters?
I came here to do part of my undergrad, and then I did my master's.
Got it.
So that's how we were always told, right? To just go through the tech path. It's the easiest thing to, figure out your journey. So that's what happened. And then when I said I got married, when I was kind of finishing up my master's, so I moved to Seattle. And and so when I came here, I just started off with this very small company. I did all kinds of roles. I'm definitely very lucky because I was born in Malaysia. I had no idea that country of birth would make a difference when you apply for a green card. So I worked for that small company. Then I was a contractor at Microsoft. And that's when, my husband, he was already full-time in Microsoft. He said, why don't you try applying for like a full-time role? And there's a position that opened up. And again, this is where it comes to this whole imposter syndrome that women put on themselves, because my husband looked at the job description and he said, oh, you should just apply. And I remember it was an analyst role at Microsoft. And I think it was a financial analyst. And I told my husband, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to get this job. Look at all the job descriptions asking for accounting background and financial something. And of course, it was analysis. So yeah, this is kind of tech related. But I was like, I don't think I'm going to get. He said, well, it doesn't hurt. Just apply. Who knows? Right? And so I would say he really pushed me at least to apply. And the funny part, I was 7 months pregnant. Not a chance. I'm going to walk in. They're all going to look at my tummy and say, see you. Like, I'm not going to get this job. Actually, it was like a panel interview. There were 5 men. I walk into the interview and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they would have all noticed me. And I'm so conscious about myself. And I'm sitting there. Then we go through the whole interview, whatnot, the process, couple of hours. Then I walk out and I'm thinking, forget it. Like, nothing's going to come out of this thing, right? And trust me, I think it was, a week went by and I said, okay, forget it, nothing. Oh my gosh, actually get a call from the recruiter. And I'm like, oh my God, it'll just be another rejection call or something. And then I just pick up the call. Oh my God, like that was the moment. I still remember that day. I still remember just physically when I was picking up the call. But anyway, so she basically said, I got the job, 7 months pregnant. They know that I'm going to go on maternity leave. So they still said yes. And trust me, they had the best baby shower. Like, I would have never imagined. I was thinking, oh
in
my
the
God.
office.
Yes.
Wow.
So I started off as a business analyst. And then I would say, actually very quickly in about 2 years, even though I went on maternity leave and all of it, actually got promoted like 3 times, actually back to back, within a span of like 3 years, I became a manager. So I went
like a people manager?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was in the BI space. So I became a BI manager lead. So worked on a lot of strategy and managing some of the dev teams. Then I moved multiple, I would say, teams within Microsoft. And I feel like every team in itself is like a startup, because I felt the culture was so different, even within different teams. And then I went as a PM. I was a planner for a while. Oh boy. But I would say then I pretty much stuck on to the PM space. So the program management space. And I recently moved to the data center operational efficiency organization, right? So for me, I would say my main strength or skill set, I would say, has always been around communications, because I also worked as a chief of staff for our GM for a while. So I did a lot of like people strategy. So for me, I think executive communications has been one of my strengths. And the second part of it, I would say, has also been all the programs that I was put into were like programs that were red state, or they were literally at the verge of almost extinction, if you will. So I have literally come in to look at the programs, either save the program or come up with a case of why we shouldn't be doing it. So,
Nice. Probably my last question on the podcast.
Sure.
I hear different definitions about differences between program manager and product manager. What is your take on it?
It's very different, because in Microsoft specifically, I feel like there's a lot of overlap. Program, product, there's a lot of overlap. And for me, the way I think about it, right, which is, again, product, you're driving like all the way from, product planning through, just even conceptualizing what the product is going to do. It's a lot of feature development, right? Then you're working very closely, of course, with engineering teams to make sure the product goes live. And then I also feel like there's a lot of post-product launch management as well. So I feel like all of that typically is a product manager role. But for me, like when I say program manager, at least, again, every company has their own definition, but in Microsoft specifically, so as a program manager, for me, it's less of the product or the features. That's not the focus. It's more about the programs, and then there could be multiple projects even within a program, right? But you're looking at it more from a strategic perspective, which is where you look at the whole program.
A high level view.
And then you're also probably releasing specific features within the program. But a product manager is very specific to a product and looking at it all the way through execution. But a program manager, I think of it as more
Managing different products.
Exactly. And also strategically, thinking of that vision as well.
Got it.
So,
okay. I thought that was the last question, but any advice for women in tech to progress in their professional life?
yeah, I think a few things that I've learned over my own experience and, mistakes that I probably made. I would say first is the imposter syndrome, because the first step is the hardest. And I've seen that a lot in, especially even now, early career women, because they're always just hesitant to take that step.
Yeah.
But interestingly, when I mentor a lot of men, I don't see that. I've never seen them say, "Oh, should I even apply? Should I even think?"
Yeah,
Like, oh, I'm
they
applying.
don't even second doubt themselves. We do
Exactly.
that constantly, women.
Yes. So I would say the first tip would be stop doubting, because you're just completely going to shut down an entire space of opportunity, which you may never know.
Yeah.
So first thing, just be strong, be brave, just take that first step. Second, I would say the most important thing I have learned through my career is network and connections. So it's not just knowing your manager or just knowing your peers. You need the network and connection way beyond that.
That's very true. Being a sort of an extrovert myself, I did that unconsciously, like talk to a lot of people at work when I was younger. I actually kind of, that extrovertedness kind of reduced in me as I grew up. But anyway, like it gave me a hand, like I still maintained those contacts.
Exactly.
It was very useful. So I agree to that. And I can't be happier, can't be more honored to have spoken a long conversation, like at least, it's been 2 hours, guys.
Thank you.
So, yes.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to be part of this podcast journey.